i.e. what's really going on here. Bitcoin cryptocurrency going to be taking a look at XRP against US dollar tether on the Binance chart. Going to be taking a look at some of the technical aspects of price action moving forward. Going to be taking a look at some of the key levels we're going to be interacting here in the kind of near short term and midterm. Going to be assessing what's happening at the kind of appears to be some exhaustion at this uptrend. We've broken out of this very tight, crazy accumulation we've had for the past kind of couple months, but we seem to be getting this big rejection off of a new swing high, and we've kind of pulled back quite hard. So jumping into it, to quickly recap this kind of prior price action here, we've been interacting with this ascending trend line since the 19th of March kind of thing, like, middle of March of 2020. We've been interacting with this ascending trend line all through the kind of recovery from the March COVID crash. So upon falling beneath it, we kind of fell and traded below it for a good, over a month kind of thing, almost a month and a half, kind of below this trend line. We finally were able to come back above and interact kind of in a tighter sort of range above and below it for this course of kind of like over 2 months. This was a very ridiculous zone of accumulation, and tons of buy pressure pulling us out of these kind of swing lows, and every dip that we had was kind of bought up very quickly, and we were able to start closing back above this trend line yet again before we were able to break out, still seeing some resistance around 62 cents. But the more we were closing above this kind of ascending trend line here, the more kind of short term bullish I became. And so that back test and that retest of it was kind of further confirmation. We now are finally seeing higher highs out of this crazy zone that we've been kind of trapped in for however long here. We've been trapped in here for over 132 days. So that's very sideways. There's a lot of indecision in the market with XRP. There was a lot going on. There's plenty of traders waiting for this breakout. We have now skyrocketed since, I guess, the beginning of this month. We've now skyrocketed, and we've seen swing highs of 250% just about. We're now sitting 139% above candle open in the beginning of the month there, April 1st. And so now there was a big sell-off. There's tons of traders making gains there, double your money, like 1.5 times your money there. That's big gains in a very short amount of time relatively. And so there was plenty of traders taking profit. We're now falling back to what was, I believe, is going to be perhaps key support or resistance around this kind of range here. It would appear. I guess this is the kind of significant range we have to maintain kind of above in the sort of short term to maintain kind of the uptrend here. If we start kind of closing below that, we could very well consolidate in a more bearish manner and kind of come down to these sort of lower levels here. Say we come all back up, print a lower high, and we get rejected all the way back down. We could consolidate in a kind of more bearish manner for quite some time, before we kind of take off again, because as you know, XRP has a history of trading sideways and reaccumulating after these kind of breakouts and after these kind of really aggressive kind of gains in a very short amount of time. XRP does have this history of selling off and reaccumulating, because while there are plenty of traders long-term holding XRP, there are also plenty of short-term traders that are willing, or that are ready to take profit at their key levels as soon as they kind of reach. So there's tons of buy and sell pressure in XRP. The longevity of XRP does seem to be still rather bullish, but is kind of questionable by the day. XRP is pretty unique, and Ripple is kind of a one-of-one entity in the crypto sphere here, and so they do have kind of a lot kind of going on for them technically and fundamentally. When we slap on EngineeringRobo here, along with the sacred lines of fettuccine, we have kind of a new perspective come into play. So we have the buy 2, buy 4, and golden cross interaction with this kind of golden cross, death cross, back and forth during this kind of consolidation between the end of January, February, all the way up to the breakout in kind of April here, beginning of April. So we've had interaction with that big moving average. We finally closed with the golden cross, buy 2, buy 4, supporting us all the way up to this kind of bounce off of this, $1.96 level. Just under $2 there. We are now retracing all the way back down. We've had a pretty solid 40% kind of pullback. We're now sitting at 32% down from the swing high and the most relative kind of price action there. And so that is rather significant. We do have the sell 2 printing again. So just as quick as it came, here it goes. And so realistically, if you bought just from the buy 2 to the sell 2, if you waited for the sell 2 candle to close and you sold upon before today's candle opened, you would have made 168% in 30 days just from the buy 2 to the sell 2 signal. Say you close at the end of that candle, say like you caught the bottom of it, you still made 126%. You know, say you sold at this morning, you would have been able to sell at 190%. But either way, from the buy to the sell to, you're up over 150%, just about 170% there. And so that's still crazy gains in a very short amount of time. Now, so plenty of traders taking profit, a sell to returning. As we identified there, we could very well see some consolidation along this kind of key range as we try to find support above $1. I guess $1 is going to have to be our next sort of psychological round level before we can hold, and that's going to be major support or resistance, I believe, in the short term here moving forward. If we fail to hold $1 and we start getting rejected under it right away, we could easily see the 80 cents to 75 cent kind of range. But I do believe another kind of psychological round level is going to need to be held in the kind of short term to maintain bullishness in the long term, because this is a very significant sell-off, and there does seem to be a more, not long term, but a more kind of gradual pullback pending if this dip doesn't get bought up instantly and we kind of double in value overnight again. Now, when we consider the price of XRP against the relative price of Bitcoin, can we kind of see a new perspective come into play here? We're interacting between these kind of two key ranges of kind of 2261 Satoshi and kind of 2896 Satoshi. These is key levels I stated that we were going to be interacting with, that we could interact with in the kind of short term here. In my kind of previous analysis, some interaction above and within this range is perhaps to be expected as Bitcoin figures itself out, because it seems to be doo-dooing the bed at the moment and has got upset and dumped downward a couple days ago, and so now we're in the kind of recovery of that. The whole market kind of went down pretty aggressively out of nowhere. When we consider EngineeringRobo along with Fibonacci levels, we see kind of some very significant supporting buy signals supporting the breakout during consolidation and accumulation above this key range I was stating back in my previous analysis there, above above 824 Satoshi and under 881 was the key range that we had to be solidifying short term to support this breakout. And so here we are breaking upward after closing above that range for like a little over a week. We're now seeing price action above the 200 moving average, which is very bullish for XRP long term, and will suggest that we can actually make some more gains against Bitcoin. But we do seem to be having a rejection here. So now I believe we can, if we can't kind of hold exactly where we are, I do believe we can see some interaction between these kind of key Fibonacci levels. We can see perhaps lows kind of toward the 0.618 level there of kind of 2011 Satoshi. If we were to consolidate in a more bearish kind of manner, we could definitely kind of see something like that before we kind of skyrocket again and kind of see some higher highs and see some kind of newer, more volatile upward price action. This is like I said, some very excessive gains in a very short amount of time. There does not seem to be a sell signal printing on the Bitcoin chart, on the XRP chart against Bitcoin. So we are still bullish, whereas there was a sell to on the USDT chart. So if you bought at the buy to, you're still technically up 176%. And so we still have, the moon, the buy 4, early bird buy 2. There's still tons and tons of bullish buy signals supporting the uptrend and the longevity of this trend. But in the short term, I believe we're going to have to perhaps see a bit of a pullback, some retracements, and some more accumulation sideways. In a previous analysis, I referred to kind of this prior price action when we had all these significant kind of buy signals. I referred to this sort of motion of like it's spiking, selling off, and then consolidating in a bearish manner and coming all the way back down. I believe that is not impossible. Like that is not I don't believe that has a high chance of happening, but I don't believe that is has a 0 chance of happening either, kind of thing. So I mean, we do have all these very similar buy signals. We got very kind of bullish consolidation above that range there. We broke above the 200 moving average, consolidated nicely above it for longer than the previous break, and we're we've kind of spiked again. We're experiencing another sell-off. We're now going to see kind of how this recovery accumulates. And so I mean, if it kind of can't kind of start closing above kind of like the dollar range there on the USDT chart, if we can't really see price action kind of maintain above $1, I do believe we could be kind of more short-term bearish. And so now, so far we haven't confirmed that this is what is occurring. This could definitely find support at a very key level here, right kind of where we're at. We could find support and kind of continue the uptrend very soon. But if this starts shaping out like previous price action, then we could very well see some more prolonged sell-off. And so granted, the fundamentals and the all the variables in XRP and the crypto sphere is very different now compared to this previous rally, and we're at a very different stage in the game. There are a lot of differences, so this rally could be very different to compare to the previous price action. But beauty of technical analysis is the big concept behind that is because it did it once, it could do it again, and so I mean, there is a chance we could have a rather aggressive, prolonged kind of sell-off. Overall, still bullish, there's tons going on. If we consider Bitcoin against US dollar tether on the Binance chart here, we see a new perspective come into play. We have, sell for coming back. We have closing down below this kind of ascending trend line. We did print a lovely technical, very technical higher low relative to the dip back in the 25th kind of March there, 2021. And, we're staying, I believe we're, closing above what is like kind of support. I do see some, kind of some support range kind of around here, and perhaps some kind of resistance sort of down there. And so, I mean, realistically, that's kind of going to be a very volatile range. We could slip right through, and if we slip through the kind of 50Ks there, we could easily interact with the high 40s. And in kind of that range, we'll need to assess kind of where prices will be. And if if we get this big rejection and we keep plummeting in a more volatile manner, we could very well come down to the kind of 40Ks here and trade sideways before we can kind of further support and kind of find a more kind of gradual way to kind of break all-time highs again. We no longer seem to be flying through all-time highs like it's nothing. We seem to be interacting with some very, very strong resistance, and this is a very different price action than we were kind of seeing in the previous breaks of all-time highs. We've been rejected off of all-time highs rather than just flying through it like previous breaks in this kind of bull run so far. FOMO zone still up there around 81K. So we're still quite bullish. We're still bullish overall. The FOMO zone, I believe, is still going to be very key. We could have a very key based on these rejections. We could very much have another rejection off of that level and kind of fall all the way back down to the 60K, 50K range, or the FOMO can bring us right up to 100K. So the FOMO zone is going to be a very, very volatile range that we need to kind of watch out and consider. These Fibonacci lines, while the lines are not present, we see how we do have levels around 51,700 and kind of another level around 41,500, my apologies. So 51K and 41K seems to be the 10K range that we could very much find some price action in between in the kind of near short term here if prices continue to get rejected the way they are. But the overall bullishness of Bitcoin is very abundant, and we could be bought up very quickly. There's lots of indecision in the market. We could go up, down, or sideways. Lots going on here, lots going on. If we consider XRP against USDT again on the Binance chart along with the FOMO zone, what do we have here? Brief interaction with the FOMO zone. This is a very strong rejection, so as I've stated kind of in prior analyses, or however you pronounce it, the FOMO zone, very, very high sell pressure present in the FOMO zone. This is where FOMO is present as well, but this is also a key level where many traders are taking profit, and there is a lot of sell pressure. If you traded, say you had the fear and FOMO zone index available to you back in kind of December of 2020, January of 2021 there, back when we were kind of last in it. So you bought the last dip around 26 cents back in the end of January of 2021. You traded from the fear zone all the way up into the FOMO zone. Say you caught right in the middle there. You're up more than 500%. You're up almost 600% realistically. If you traded from the fear to the FOMO zone, you're up 600% in less than 3 months. It kind of appears. So that's insane gains. But here up in the FOMO zone, we very well could have continued to close up in the FOMO zone and seen kind of further spikes and FOMO kind of come in, these tops get bought, and we could have very well increased to the multi-dollar XRP kind of level. But we saw the kind of the other option for the FOMO zone, which is a very aggressive rejection, and we came out paying back out of it rather immediately, which does suggest some continued sideways or some sell-off to be pending in the short term here. Overall, long term, we can still be bullish on XRP, but after multi-100% gains, there's definitely going to be plenty of traders taking profit at their key levels, and there's going to be plenty of pullbacks and sell-offs, I believe, during this uptrend. Now, of course, XRP does have the volatility to spike, multi-100% in kind of like one singular candle. So, I mean, that is definitely possible. Perhaps once we're in the FOMO zone, we could see that. But until then, we're going to be seeing some sell-offs from the traders that were accumulating during this kind of key range back between February and kind of April, beginning of April this year. And so, lots going on for XRP. Watch for buy and sell signals. Watch for shifts in momentum. Thank you for tuning in. Check out all the social media down below. Try EngineeringRobo, free, link in the description. Subscribe here on YouTube, and tune in for the next one.